Welcome to day 277. We're in Matthew and Luke. Some kind of cool things to put on your list today. So pay attention to some of the things in the future to come. So we start off today with some more miracles, and I'll try to do all of these at the same time here. So Jesus first heals the paralyzed servant. The guy comes and says, "Hey, my servant is paralyzed and in severe pain," and Jesus says, "I'll take care of that, and let me follow you home." And the guy says, "No, I know what it means to have people who do what you say, and when I say go, and they go." And Jesus said, "I haven't seen faith like this in all of Israel." So he said, "Go on back, your servant's been healed." And he heals the servant from far away. So that in itself is amazing, that he just does it from where he's at. So such a cool miracle of that kind. And then he brings a boy back to life in Luke 7, 12 through 15. So just want to read that part. Funeral procession was coming out. As he approached the village gate, the young man who had died was a widow's only son. So it was a widow's only son, and Jesus was filled with compassion. He told the mom, "Don't cry." And he goes over to the coffin, touched it, and says, "Young man, I tell you, get up." And so he gives him back to his mother. So a cool thing, bringing a boy back to life. And then in Luke 7, verse 21, it says, "At that very time, Jesus cured many people of their diseases, illnesses, and evil spirits, and he restored sight to many who were blind." So 4 different types of things. Illnesses, evil spirits, restored the sight, cured many diseases, so illnesses, diseases, together there. But many is the key word there, and we keep seeing that every time he went somewhere, there were just too many to be able to put down in words and to keep track of it. So that is the to be added to all the Jesus miracles list that you have. Now, let's go back to Matthew 8 and read verse 11. "And I tell you this," this is Jesus talking, "and I tell you this, that many Gentiles, people like us, not Jewish people, Gentiles, will come from all over the world, from east and west, and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at the feast in the kingdom of heaven." At the feast, where? In the kingdom of heaven. When is that? At the end of the tribulation time. Where are we? We've been raptured into heaven during the tribulation time. And then we come back down for 1,000 years on earth. And then a new heaven, new earth is made after that. But so in the tribulation time, we're in heaven, and we get to hang out with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that should tell you something about the people in the Old Testament. They didn't call on Jesus to save them. They didn't know Jesus. They did righteous things then. Christ, when he dies, he goes to hell and takes people out of hell and takes them to heaven. Now, whether or not they're in hell or they went straight to heaven, that is only God could tell you that answer. But the point is, when does all this take place? We will be sitting with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is really kind of cool. And then let's go to understanding the greatest person who's ever lived. Many people would say Solomon. And no, Jesus says this. "I tell you this, that many Gentiles will come from all over." Matthew 11, not 8:11. Matthew 11, verse 11. So Jesus is talking. He says, "I tell you the truth, of all who have ever lived, none is greater than John the Baptist." Okay, so what's so important about this? Here's what Jesus is saying. "Yet even the least person in heaven, in the kingdom of heaven, is greater than he is." So nobody in all of history has been greater than John the Baptist, even Solomon. And yet he is not even close to the least person in heaven. So when we get to heaven, this tells us that something happens. And we're going to read about this in the Gospels, where when we go to heaven, we are changed. And we read about that in Timothy and some of the other books. We're changed in a moment, in a blink of an eye. We're changed. Our eyes are open, our brains are open in a way that we understand more than we ever did. And we can't sin in heaven, so something's happened to where we don't even want to do that, want to do any sin, okay? So, on that note, two things here. In Matthew 11:15, it says this: anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. I've read that somewhere. We probably should have started a list of how many times we hear that. And again, since we understand this is a conversation and it's all about Jesus, there's common themes throughout the whole Bible. Anyone who with ears to hear should listen and understand. And in Revelation 2:7 and all the different letters to the churches, anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand what the Spirit is saying to the churches. And we've read about that kind of in the Old Testament. So we got this understanding that if you are at heart searching for the Lord, boom, you got it. You're in. God made it that easy because it's your heart that he wants. And if your heart is there, you're in. That's what it means. So on that note, in Luke 7, verse 47 through 48, this is the woman who's crying at Jesus' feet and kissing his feet and wiping up her tears with her hair and putting expensive perfume on him. And he says, hey, you didn't do any of these things for me when I entered your home. But this woman whose sins are many, he admits, she has many sins. Don't you think that you don't fall into that category? Here's what he says, and the theme, really many of the themes, but the big theme of the Bible, not just about Christ, but really the purpose of Christ, is this: I tell you, her sins, and they are many, have been forgiven. So she has shown me much love. Before he even tells her they're forgiven, he is telling the other people her sins have been forgiven. And she says, but a person who is forgiven little shows only a little love. Then Jesus said to the woman, your sins are forgiven. What a great way to end the day's reading about the theme, this common thread that's through the whole Bible. Is like your sins can be forgiven. Your heart needs to be searching for the Lord. And you will sit with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the end. So hopefully you're starting your list. You've added to the list of the things that are going to be happening during the tribulation. And a lot of times we just read about, 666, and there's all this hell and turmoil on earth. And yeah, but well, what's happening in heaven? Well, this is one of those things that's going to be happening in heaven. Not only is there a feast in heaven at the judgment seat of Christ, which don't let that scare you. We talked about that. Your sins have been forgiven. There is no judgment. There is no condemnation on you. Your sins are forgiven. You're going to eat with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's going to be cool among all the other people that we've been reading about. So that's your day 277. I'll see you tomorrow.